This is not a beginner's tutorial video for anyone getting into editing, much less getting into fusion editing. Just getting that out of the way. It's more of a experimental, somewhat half-baked technique that I've been working on, and I'm hoping I can get it out to other people who maybe they can refine it, maybe they find there's more potential in it, maybe they don't. It's really all just about sharing ideas. Anyway, so I have all the nodes set up from the night before. We have the footage here. Color space transform to get this into a linear space. I'm not very good with color spaces myself. This is really beyond the point of the video. We then turn it back at the end, back into normal. That's all besides the point. Anyway, so for all intents and purposes, we start here. We slow it down. We're going at double the speed, and the interpolation mode here, I've set it to the most basic one, nearest, so that it essentially just deletes the frames that are sped over. I put in a delay that is the current frame divided by the speed, and that gets you back to where it should be. If you don't have the delay, then you're going to be, it'll all be messed up. Anyway, you draw your mask from there. I've done a little aid in that by putting a tracker there. I've tracked this book here, and that will help out a lot with the rotoscoping. I then attach a transform to this background, and I attach the center of the tracker to the center of this, so that it follows it around, basically. Anyway, this is all a little besides the point. You do the mask, basically. I made one last night. It's not perfect, but it will do. Ooh, quite rough, actually. Anyway, then you're going to put another time speed here, and you're going to slow the footage back down. You'll have the same delay as this one. The only difference is it will be a minus instead, because now you're slowing it down. That will bring it forwards. It needs to be pushed back again. The big difference here is that we're slowing it down with a different interpolation mode. We're slowing it down with flow, which is why we have this optical flow node here. This it does to cut it short, it does a bit of voodoo in the background, which kind of fills in the in-between frames. So say we have frame 1 and frame 2. We want to get 3 frames out of that. It kind of fills in the one in the middle, and that's the driving force behind this idea, is that we're going to kind of trick it into doing our masking for us on half the frames. It's going to look at the one before and the one ahead and say, okay, judging by this and that, it will be in this position. And that is essentially the technique. You work on half the frames because you've sped it up, and then you have the more advanced optical flow time speed, slow it back down, and fill in the frames that you didn't work on. The result, you then have that. You mask everything out apart from that, and you have your mask. And so for a preview of that, why don't I go into here where the color's back to normal, and we'll see how it works. Your playback is not going to be very nice. The optical flow node is quite taxing. For the most part, it's holding on quite well. You probably noticed there that there's some shakiness at the end. The optical flow node doesn't work very well when things leave the screen. So that is an issue with it. But for all of these, now aside from this here, but that's more because I got a bit lazy with my mask. For the most part, it is holding on quite well. And half of these frames I haven't worked on, which I think has some potential. I could be wrong. So why don't we get to the end where it slips up a bit? Now, again, it doesn't like when things leave the screen. And so here it goes quite wonky and strange. You would have to clean up the mask here. But for the most part, you're getting all of these extra frames in when if I go to the mask that I drew, you can see there are only keyframes on one half of the video. And some of those in the more basic movements, like this is this one, you can just leave to the basic interpolation. So all in all, we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then it gets more dense here because there's faster, more varied movement. But yeah, that is the technique. It's nothing amazing, and I'm surprised no one's really thought of it before. But I could see it having some potential.